All right. Good morning. Good morning. We got six in the house right off the giddy up. That's awesome. Cool. Let me get things situated here a little bit. We'll get the show rolling. Can you hear me okay? You want to do let's do an audio check. See if I'm coming across. I'm too quiet, too loud. Let somebody let me know in the chat real quick. That'd be great. Appreciate it. Uh, hey Chris. You were by oh Chris, I think you're from Eugene. Are you from Eugene? Uh yeah. I'd love to talk to you sometime about life in the PNW. That'd be fun. Yeah, you came by my town, Silverton. That's cool. Um Raji's in the house. You've got real celebrity today. Yeah, exactly. No fuck ups. Hey Eddie. Good to see you, Vincent. Oh, you're heading up to Seattle. Okay. Loud and clear. All right, thanks, Vincent. Oh, you're from SoCal. Maybe it's somebody else that was from Eugene, Chris, that I was thinking of. Anyway, let's I'll show some records here. It's I've been off for the last 2 weeks because I've been busy doing family stuff and but it's good to be back. I'm happy to be here with you all today. And I wrote you on IG, but I didn't respond, wanting to meet up. Oh, I got you, Chris. Okay. That's right. That would have been cool. If you're coming back down south, I can meet you somewhere possibly when you come back down. But let me know, Chris. So a couple weeks ago, um, Yvonne, and I haven't seen from Yvonne for a little bit. I wonder how he's doing. I hope maybe he's in bed already. But he showed this record. It's the new Brandy Carlisle Elton John record, and I thought, you know what, my Rochelle absolutely loves Brandy Carlisle, and I thought I'd get it, and it's neat. It's a really good album. It's not super deep, but it's one of those that's really well produced, and the layered vocals and just the first track, "The Rose of Laura Nero," who Laura Nero, side note, is just a really interesting character. But the first song is kind of yeah, it's like an act in a play, kind of. It's really beautiful. Anyway, but I really like this. It was good. So, hey, Greg. Uh, yeah, I'm doing well. Hope you're well in Francais and plugging in there. Good. Um, so this week I rode the motorcycle. There's a town close by. It's about the same size as Silverton. It's about 15 miles away, and it's called Malala. It's an Indian name, but it's a cowboy town. But for some reason, the Goodwill there has. I always find something at the Goodwill there, um, and so I went there and I found 4 records, and oddly enough, I didn't check this when I was getting them, but I looked them up on Discogs because I buy records to resell, down at the antique shop, and I I found these 4 records, and they're all from '73, 1 year off of off of my collector year, but they're cool. First one was this Jerry Goffin, who was, I found out. I mean, it's a double album, and it's worth like they're selling for like $100 on Discogs, and it hasn't been repressed, so there's only the '73 original. But he was married to Carole King. Um, they got married. She got pregnant. They got married. He was 20 and she was 17. But he's written like, I don't know, like 100 radio hits. But I listened to it only one time through, but it's pretty cool. It's got some Dylan-y aspects of it. Marty, can I have Loki back? You sure can, buddy. Hey, Paul, how you doing? So this is pretty good. Another one I got was the Howard Lemon Singers from '73. It's a gospel album, but this is worth like $40. And I paid Goodwill charges $4 a record now, which I think is kind of a bummer. But I am going to make money on these records, so I did pretty good on them. This one, Rufus's dad, Loudon Wainwright III, Attempted Mustache. This is a good album. He's kind of funny, really kind of interesting lyricist. But yeah, this is pretty good promo or whatever. And then the one that I was really surprised by, and I think I'm going to keep. I think I mentioned this to my friends on Discord. Is this John Martin Solid Air? The sleeve is not in very good shape, but the record is near mint. So I was really pleased. It just sounds absolutely incredible. But this is kind of like a jazzy Nick Drake. I'm sure you. Oh, Harry's a Loudon fan. Yeah, he's great. I like Loudon Wainwright. Hey, Rochelle. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over, Loki. Right? Hey, there's Loki. Marty OJ called Rochelle riffraff. That's all good. No problem. Yeah, it is a cool cover, isn't it, Greg? But it's been repressed a few times or whatever. But this is not a cheap album either. On the Cool Island label. So anyway, but the absolute best album that I got this week, I had to get it online because I couldn't find it anywhere, so I found it on eBay. Is this one right here? Greg X Bowles, The River is Rising. So a lot of you don't know who he is, but he was the lead singer for Petra when they started in the 70s, and then this is his first solo album from 1986. And I am a huge hey, there's Yvonne. How you doing, buddy? I am a huge and Rev's here. Nice. I am a huge fan of Greg X Bolts. So if you get the inclination, check this out, and you'll get an idea of what my teenage years were all about. My young teenage years. If you stream it on Spotify, it's called "The River Is Rising," the album. The first song is Barrier, but anyway, it rocks, and he's got an incredible rock voice. So anyway. So let's get to the show, get to my special guest. I'm really excited about having this guy here. I've been wanting to have him for a little while, but didn't know if he was going to be available. He's across the pond, and I think I can call him a friend now. So please give a warm welcome to David Donley. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Fantastic. Oh, I love the guitars in the background. That's great.
Right. This is where I record. It's not my studio upstairs.
Okay.
But I liked if I have a sudden idea at like 3 a.m. or something, I just come down here, and with one button I can just hoik a guitar off the wall.
Yeah. When the inspiration strikes.
I've got my which way is it? Effects and stuff behind me.
Okay.
And
cool.
And what have you, and I can just suddenly, because I'm sure you know what it's like. If because you write your own stuff, don't you?
I don't. I haven't for several years, but I did when I was younger and have an album and whatnot. But I'd love to get back into it. I just when the girls became teenagers and all that kind of stuff, I didn't have as much time, and it's been great.
That's luckily for me a section of life that I've avoided quite well. I'm glad that I don't know. I just wasn't cut out. I'm not cut out to be a parent or a husband or anything like that.
Well, we need you playing guitar and drums and bass for us, so you're not raising kids.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I don't think if I'd have had kids, I don't think I'd be able to do half the things I've been able to do.
I bet you're a really cool uncle, though.
Oh yeah, and I'm also, although I think it's a bit presumptuous, but I am a great uncle as well.
Yeah.
Which I believe is a title and a description as far as my little nephew is. So yeah, I've got a nephew and niece, and I've got a little great nephew now.
Oh wow!
And he's ace. And my nephew, he's in a band called Lakes. Their new album came out yesterday.
Oh cool! Shout out to them.
I'm told that he was inspired by his uncle David. But he's been on the front cover of Kerrang and all sorts of stuff. He's
cool.
Which might not mean something to everyone. I
haven't heard of it. What genre is their music?
Well, when he was on the front of Kerrang, it was a real sort of mega sort of thing. But this is actually more sort of, I don't know, Travis, or if
I love Travis.
Sort of hang on to. He's he's way above me in terms of talent, in terms of just because he did when I was young, there wasn't the chance to go to like a music college for rock music.
Yeah.
And so he went to a rock music college and
very cool
and all that. So there.
Well, David, let's start. Where were you born? What part of England were you born in?
Northampton. So Bauhaus country.
Okay, how close is that to where you're at now?
I could get there in about 2.5 hours.
Okay.
But I moved when I was 11. We moved to Norwich because my mum's actually a Norwich girl, and they'd always planned to retire here. But then there was, I didn't really understand it at the time because I was, 10, 11 years old. But there was a bit of a recession apparently going on, and my dad was made redundant from the place
Oh,
where
okay.
he was, and he'd always thought about setting up on his own as a commercial artist because he was an artist for a living.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's maybe where you get a little bit of your creative juice.
Yeah, he's definitely the musician in the jazz musician though.
Okay.
And so I didn't really understand how cool it was. Some of the things I saw as a kid, like because he's friends with people like Clear Lane, Dudley Moore, and
Wow.
Johnny Dankworth and stuff. But I didn't know that these people were cool, that we went to their house and stuff.
That's neat.
And he took me to see Buddy Rich when I was
no kidding.
13 years old at the Ipswich Gaumont, which is about an hour away from Norwich. And yeah, it's Big Swing Face by Buddy Rich was the album that we used to listen to together because he didn't really like pop music. He couldn't really, or rock music,
Yeah. I did the Buddy Rich album from '74, The Roar of '74. He's like in a hot rod dragster or something like that. But that was my introduction to Buddy Rich, and then I got a couple more of his albums after that. And
when I went to that gig, though, I nearly gave up drums because I walked out thinking,
"Oh yeah,
that's impossible."
Yeah.
But then, luckily for me, punk happened, and suddenly it was like, well, if you can, like people like Paul Cook, Clem Burke, and all that sort of stuff, I could copy them.
Yeah.
I couldn't copy Buddy Rich.
So how young were you when you picked up an instrument and started messing around?
5 for drums.
Okay.
5 years old, and right up until sort of I was about 14, 15, I wanted to play guitar, but it's weird because sorry, I just saw Harry's comment. Yeah, there's a brilliant tape of
Nicest guy music. Yeah, he's not
Buddy Rich on the tour bus telling his band that he's not absolutely totally pleased with them.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
So you're 5 years old. You're beating on the drums. And did your parents like, here's a drum set, or did your dad have a drum set, or what was that kind of?
My dad had his RAF kit from when he did his national service. He did did some jazz gigs, like a lot of them did, I think, where they didn't actually want to shoot and kill people, so they sort of formed bands within the RAF.
Yeah.
And he carried that on when he came out. And also he I was so impressed when I was a kid because I was obsessed with records. I'm sure we're going to go quite deep into this particular obsession, but yeah, I was so impressed that my dad had a record out.
That's your dad's?
Yeah, that's my dad's, and that's my dad on clarinet there.
Fantastic.
And this is like stuff like, Sweet Lorraine. Well, it's just great.
I love it.
It looks like an acetate to me because it's got that thing where it's got a bit of metal in between the two black things. And he made quite a few. The Paul Donley trio did quite a lot. And I went into a studio and digitally remastered.
Really? Okay.
And do you know what? One of the most awesome things, I don't know whether this is boring everyone's pants off here, but
oh gosh, it's good. I love it.
Something I was really pleased about is when my dad passed away, I wanted to play some of his music. Now this, I got rhythm and all that sort of stuff. When you play it on a player, it sounds like two people destroying a packet of crisps either side of your head, or a packet of chips. Sorry, either side of your head. And so I was doing some stuff with Stereophonics at the time, the band Stereophonics, and their producer Jim, who's a really close friend of mine. I told him about this, and he said, "Well, then send it to me. Send me the thing." And of course, he put it through about £1 million worth of filters and defrackles and stuff. Honestly, at the funeral, when we played it, it sounded, because of the size of the place and everything, it sounded like the guy was stood
Oh,
in front
that's
of us
super
playing it.
cool.
It was amazing. He just took all the pops and clicks, and it was incredible.
Yeah,
Absolutely
that's cool.
incredible. I'd never heard this
Like
sound
that.
so good.
Yeah.
But it's because Jim's had like 6 #1 albums and all this sort of stuff as an engineer and producer.
Okay.
So it was in safe
Oh,
hands.
what a gift. That's super cool.
Oh, it was really great. It was really good. I'm just going to whip the curtain back a little bit because it's,
Okay.
I notice I'm a little bit darker than you. And considering I'm
It's all good. I'm in my cave in the studio here, so it's not
cold,
very
don't
bright. It's all good.
they?
So, okay, when did records? So, if at 5, your dad had records. Did your dad would play records? Your parents play records?
Yeah, but they weren't for me. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was
because
like,
they were. It wasn't. So this would have been like what, 70, mid 70s or late 70s.
yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
was born in '67. I'm 58 now.
Okay.
So it was really sort of a lot of jazz, which was nice to listen to. But my obsession went as far as playing Holst the Planets, purely because the label was a black label with a white square in it, and I loved watching it go round.
Round.
And
Oh,
it just,
interesting.
weird things like that sort of pulled me to the records. And one that I really connected with was the original Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't know then, but I didn't know that the Jesus character was Ian Gillan from Deep Purple. I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
know that. That's
I didn't know
cool.
that one of the guitarists is Chris Spedding, who I ended up working with later on.
Wow.
There were just so many people on that original one, the original one with the sunburst on the front. And although I'm not a Christian man, it's not religion. Religion isn't a thing for me. But I was just going through my mum and dad's records, and a lot of it, it just didn't touch me because it was, I don't know, Rosemary Clooney or something, or
Yeah. Ray
uh,
Conniff or yeah, whatever.
yeah, and so that was the stuff I was trying to find, anything rocky, and because I just knew when I'd watched Top of the Pops, very very early. Do you know what Top of the Pops is?
Yeah, yeah. I recently watched the Sparks when I think they were on Top of the Pops doing their thing.
Right.
It's really
Yeah,
crazy.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, how the guys got away with sitting there behind the keyboard looking like Hitler.
Hitler, exactly.
I
And he's
just,
just stone faced while the other guys. It was so great. It's so
oh, I
great.
love them. I love
Yeah,
Sparks.
they're great.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the start of it. Really,
What was do you remember like the first couple of records or when you were able to play your own records
oh
in the
yes.
house? Okay.
Well, the first band I clocked onto was Sweet,
Oh, cool.
and I don't mean I mean, yeah, as a kid, I liked things like Wigwam Bam and Blockbuster and what have you, but I got given Sweet Fanny Adams for my birthday in 1974,
Yeah, yeah.
and my sisters bought it for me. I've got 3 sisters, no brothers, at 3
Okay.
sisters. And my sisters got me Sweet Fanny Adams, and it's one of those albums where they were desperate. They really wanted to be a hard rock band. They wanted to be Deep Purple, really. They just fell into the bubblegum thing.
Yeah.
And but I heard Sweet Fanny Adams with things like All Through the Into the Night, Set Me Free, all that sort of. They're just balls out rock songs, and that did it for me. That was like, I
Okay.
thought, oh wow. And also, if you did buy something like Blockbuster or whatever, you flip it over and there's like an absolute cracking song called Need a Lot of Loving, which is just full throttle sort of thing. And so I whenever I bought their songs, Wigwam Bam, you turn it over, it's a song called New York Connection. Rock.
So you were buying singles too?
Well, only because I couldn't afford,
Okay.
we weren't a well-off family, and so my pocket money, or allowance as they call it, was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
It was like,
Okay.
I could buy a comic some sweets and what have you, or I could buy nothing, wait till next week, and then go and buy a single.
Single. That's cool.
And the first single I bought with my own money, it wasn't the one I wanted. I wanted the Sex Pistols, No One Is Innocent, because it had just come out, but my
Okay.
mother would not let me.
Let
She
you.
was very anti the Sex
Anything that's called the Sex Pistols, right? Very
She
controversial.
just wasn't into,
Yeah.
well, because they'd already done God Save the Queen and stuff like that. I hadn't been allowed to have that. I wasn't allowed to have
Okay.
Pretty Bacon. But as I've said to my mum and dad since, it's I just it was the music, you see. I wasn't interested in all the spitting and you know,
Mhm.
like, you know, safety pins. It was that guitar sound. It's Steve Jones basically, and Glenn Matlock's songwriting. That's what got me into it. But of
Mm.
course, they were in the papers every day at that time, and my mum and dad, being good Christian people,
Yeah.
they weren't up for it at all. And but it made it all more exciting. I think parents should realize this. If you whinge about something to your kid saying that, like, you're not allowed to have this, the first thing you think is, I need to get this.
Right.
You know,
Indeed. Indeed.
it's as
Yeah.
old as the hills, isn't it? That sort of attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and so that was my baptism of fire, if you like, sweet. And then that was me drumming, like trying to drum like Mick Tucker, you know. And
How old were you when you moved out of the home? What was the transition like there?
out of my parents' home,
Yeah.
I was
Got your
17.
own.
I was
Oh,
17,
really? Okay.
the age you're allowed to go.
Yeah. So
But I
you
remember asking my mum and dad when I was younger, saying, you know, like, when do I have to leave home? She said, well, you know, we're not going to kick you out, but if you haven't gone by the time you're 18, we will probably ask you why.
Yeah. Did you stay in Norwich at that point, or did you move away?
No, I stayed in Norwich. I got my own flat, and I just met my first proper girlfriend, you know,
Okay.
and so that was awesome.
Were you gigging at that point or still learning?
Yeah, I was in. I mean, obviously, I've got a few things on hand to show you just to try and
Yeah, for
illustrate.
sure.
You
Yeah.
know? But this is the first single that I did. It's a 12-inch single by Sonic City Rocker Squad. And my dad, as I said, was an artist, and he did the sleeve. And I don't know whether you can work it out, but that's
There's
basically
Twin Towers there, right?
well, it's London skyline going into New York skyline.
Okay. Alright. Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
just to get some proper abuse from the chat, let's see if I can give you the gold on this one.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, can you see?
How old were you there? 18?
22.
22, okay.
Yeah, 22.
Wow.
But yeah, goth man.
What type of music is it?
Oh, do you know? Well, there is a story behind this. Myself and Paul Rowe, who's the singer, were initially a duo. I did all the instruments, he did the singing, and that was brilliant. I really enjoyed doing that. But they said, you know, you got to build a band. You know, the people who wanted to sign us said you got to build a band. And by the time we actually got to record this, it was when, like, sort of, you know, Fairlight computers had come in, and you know, all that sort of stuff. And it's just samples and what. I mean, our poor drummer didn't play on this, you know, and we had this producer that was an absolute knobhead, you know, and it's like he made Robin, our drummer, set up his kit, right? Even though the drums were all programmed by this guy, he made him set up his kit so that he could put a couple of mics above him, told him to wear a leather jacket, and then he wanted to record the sound the drummer would take up. Yeah.
Huh. Weird.
And obviously all it was that if you put the fader up on that track, it just goes, and you can just hear air, and occasionally Robin's jacket, the zip on his arm just make a noise.
Huh.
Some people really do disappear up their own arse
Yeah.
so much that
Oh,
they
for
come out of
sure.
their own mouths and then they're back to normal, sort of thing. You
Yeah.
know, that is how far I've seen. I've seen some ridiculous producey type sort of
Yeah.
weirdness, you know. But yeah, that was my first single basically. I'm
Okay.
proud of having a 12-inch, but it's very like, well, for a start, okay, track one, side one is 8 minutes 40
Oh, wow.
because they wanted to do this huge disco like or a dance version because everything had to have a dance mix. Everything had to this, that, and the other, you know.
Okay.
So it's not the proudest record I've ever made, but it is a bit special because and me and Paul Rowe are still best friends, but he's a really famous tattoo artist in
Oh,
Syracuse,
really?
New York now. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
James Street Parlor. If you want to check out his work,
Okay.
he's done very well for himself as
Oh, good for
Paul.
him. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
so you're in your 20s, you got your apartment and you're gigging. Are you was there did you like were you playing as much as you could with as many different bands as you could, or did you just find one band and stick with them? Or what was your did you just wanna what was your feeling at that time? You know, you're in your 20s, you just can't just as much as you can play all the time? Were you playing
yeah.
every
Well, the 20s was where I really took it seriously, but right back to being at school. The first gig I did was that for some reason the headmaster knew I had a band and stuff, and he said, "Would you like to do an assembly?" And I thought, well, my fellow pupils will enjoy that rather than just the usual assembly. I don't know what you call it in America. When you all come in the
Yep,
morning, everyone
assembly?
sits down, and
Sure.
then they sort of pontificate about the school and that.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Do your band want to come and play?" And so we played, and people were loving it.
Wow, that's
So then,
cool.
so then he asked us if we'd do a lunchtime. Like, do you want to set up in the lunchtime and do that? And it was great. I've got footage of it as well, and I look about 8 years old, even though I was actually like 14 or something.
Yeah.
Because I was very small until about 15, and then I just shot up.
Okay.
The growing pains in my knees and under my arms were incredible. I literally just started growing like Jack and the Beanstalk overnight.
So at that point, there was no question as to whether you wanted to be a musician. I mean, you weren't
Yeah,
thinking, "Oh, maybe
totally.
I'll be an electrician," or maybe it was just music, for sure.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I do. I can't curse myself sometimes that I'm not into it. I've always said to people I'm incredibly shallow in terms of my depth of things I love. And for just decades, it was just music, 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 girls, music, music, music,
Yeah.
girls, music, music, women. And then those were my two passions.
Yeah.
But I just knew. But also, I have to say, if I'm going to be honest, I was thick as shit at school. I wasn't. I'm not unintelligent. I just find it absolutely impossible to remember anything I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm just looking at some of the chat. I want to sort of right, Rochelle. Do you think DD has the soft focused filter applied?
Let's
He
see.
looks he looks very handsome.
Handsome and clear-skinned.
Handsome and
I
clear.
know
Well,
where
thank you very much, Loki. That's good coming from you because you don't dish out compliments on a regular basis.
right?
I do love you though, mate.
Yeah.
I know Marty does. No, I'm not aware that I've got that thing on. I just press camera and it comes up like this. But I have to say, if you knew my mum, and anyone on my Facebook will see plenty of pictures of my mum because she's 88 and
I did see some pictures, I think it was on your Instagram of your mom.
she's just
Yeah.
awesome.
That
She's
looks
just had a
looks
new
lovely.
hip. She's just had a new hip 6
Yeah.
weeks ago, right? A brand
Yeah.
new, and my mum said, I went to see her the other day and she was walking around with no walking poles or anything. I said, Mum, is this a good idea? And she said, Oh, well, I'm feeling all right now. I said, Mum, 6 years ago, they replaced half your fucking leg. It's like, take it easy. Take it easy. But yeah, she's hysterical. She's just brilliant. I love her.
It's great to have a good relationship with your parents. Yeah.
Well, it's good because I think, luckily for both my mum and dad, they became, once I left home, they became friends.
Yeah.
They do. I didn't. Yeah, of course, I just respect them as my mum and dad, but I could actually have normal conversation.
Yeah, it's neat that, my dad's 73 and I'm almost 51, and they live a
Mm.
mile down the road. So we're more like I'm almost a senior citizen, and
51, you child.
right? So so I'm waiting another 4 years so I can get my discount and everywhere, but,
Yeah, yeah.
it's it's it's
I'm just
great to have parents that way. You
I
can
don't like to ignore the chat because that will
yeah,
upset.
what this is might be jumping a little bit forward what Bill K is asking here, but what's a favorite or a top band or artist that you had the opportunity to work with?
I think The Cure.
Tell us about that a
Yeah,
little bit.
I think The Cure, yeah, because when I was a really little kid, 13, um, 12, 13, as soon as we moved to Norwich, I went to go and find record shops. I just wanted to find record shops, and I walked into one on Norwich Market called Top Deck. And Top Deck, it's just a normal record store, but it was back in the day when obviously it was just vinyl and cassettes, you know. And I loved it. I went in there every Saturday. And then I, not really realizing how things work, I asked the lady that ran it, can I have a job? You know, I'd like to
Mm,
work. I just wanted to work in a record shop. And I carried on doing it until I turned professional music wise. I worked at HMV and all that sort of stuff, you know. But she couldn't give me a job because I was too young. However, she said, if you want to come in on a Saturday, and this is in the days where the sleeves were out, but you had to marry them with the record. Like people would hand you the sleeve and you had to go through the ABC and
oh, interesting, okay.
yeah, yeah. Like this is
Yeah,
like, you know, we're talking like 78, 79. And so that was my job because Saturdays were a bit chaotic. She needed, and she said, I can't pay you because it's illegal. But at the end of each Saturday, you can choose 2 albums.
mm,
And I just thought, well, I mean, I hadn't got the money for one
yeah,
album.
fantastic.
So to do that, I fell into a pot of gold there. I just want to answer these because, like I say, I don't want to. There was another one. DD shot stole your shirt. I don't know what I'm not sure what that means. Someone called it a granddad shirt the other day, but I'm a grand uncle, as a great uncle. Someone asked me about guitars here, and I didn't quite catch it.
Oh. Do you have a you obviously like white guitars. Is that or do you
Well, it's more. I love the white Gibson Les Pauls. You
yeah,
know, or Les Pauls basically, and I do
yeah,
love the white ones because I tend to wear black on stage. I know I'm wearing this thing, but if you've
okay,
seen the Visage live show from Belgium that's on, you know, there we all had to dress in black. You know,
okay.
Rusty Egan wanted to go for a sort of Kraftwerk vibe where we're all on different. We all had a riser each, you know, and we had a rider each, but there was also 3 cinema screens behind us showing
Mm,
all sorts of stuff, you know, and like so. Um, so I'm often dressed in black, and obviously, you know, Bill's just mentioned the Cure, and that you don't really wear a sort of Hawaiian shirt in the Cure.
right.
Now, what Cure albums do you appear on? Right. Well, of course, this is a shame. I'm not on any of them, but however. I am on the B side of Close to Me, along with the rest of the band, stood around a microphone doing the claps. Because what happened with the Cure, I think it often gets a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, wow, weren't you in the Cure for a while?" No, I wasn't. I met Lol Tolhurst through Top Deck Records actually, because we were selling Cure tickets for a 1981 gig in a small
Mhm.
place in Norwich. And their manager came in to pick up the ticket money, and he said, "Are you going?" And I said, "No, no, I you know." That he said, "Oh well, I'll put you on the guest list," and I didn't know what that was. And so one of the ladies that worked, she was 18 at the time. This lady there, and she said, "I'll take him," because she quite fancied going, so she could smell a free ticket.
Mhm.
And I said, "Yeah, okay, all right." So I went, and afterwards, the manager guy said, "Do you want to come meet the band?" And I went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I sat down next to Lol Tolhurst, and so naive, but I went, "I'm a drummer as well," you know.
Yeah.
But I'd heard of Forest. I was aware of a Forest, but I didn't really know anything in that. They were sort of one early hit sort of thing, you know. And then we swapped addresses. And he said, keep in touch. Tell me about your band, which my band was a school band, which was awful.
Yeah,
Really.
but I mean, I think he probably knew he was getting the sense that he was making your day, you know?
Yeah, well, it was just
Yeah,
he was doing what I wanted to do,
yeah.
and so we kept in touch for a long time, for the next few years, and then in 1984, things were starting to go a little bit pear-shaped. Robert was already in Susie and the Banshees again, and so his time was just, stretched. And most of the Cure had other jobs. Phil Thornley, the bass player, he was an engineer for Duran Duran, doing the Seven and the Ragged Tiger in Sri Lanka. And Andy Anderson, bless him, rest in peace. I do miss him. Andy Anderson was also doing sessions for like Steve Hillage and Hawkwind and stuff like that. So there was a period of time in 1984 where Lol asked me to come down because he knew I played like the three instruments they needed. And whoever was missing, I stood in for in rehearsals. So I was never in the Cure. The bit that I am upset about is that when after I'd done all that and they went off to Japan, and then Andy had a bit of a meltdown and what have you. And I know my name came up as to like, well, should we fly him over?
Mm,
Because I'd played in rehearsal. But unfortunately for me, the Thompson twins were in Japan at the same time, just finishing their tour. And their drummer, Boris Williams, had worked with Phil Thornley before. So Phil went and saw Boris Williams and reckoned, do you reckon you could come on board here? And so he did. And then he stayed for 8 years.
okay.
That was a bit of a sort of, I've had a few of those, though. I've had a few sort of like, oh, I missed
Yeah,
sliding doors moments,
yeah.
But
Very cool.
I'm still friends with Lol, though. I'm still friends with Lol, and I would love to see Robert again. The thing that I found that was quite upsetting was when Andy died. I went to the memorial and funeral and stuff like that, and at the memorial, Lol and his wife sent a really lovely message because they'd always kept in touch with him, and Robert had sent a poem that he'd written to be read out and stuff, and I collected a few extra orders of service, and I wanted to send Rob one. I wanted to send Robert one because he wasn't there. He wasn't able to be there. And Simon Gallup made it, the bass player, But yeah, I wanted to send him one because I just thought it was a nice thing to do. And then it was just the most heartbreaking bunch of phone calls trying to get, because all I had Robert's parents' numbers, and I had Robert's parents' address and where he grew up and all that, but I didn't know both his parents had passed away
Mm,
and the house had been sold. So I started ringing a few people saying, oh, I'm an old friend from a long time ago, but now I said I'd like to do a thing. And you can just hear on the other end, and I get it, their management going, were you? Yeah, you're an old friend, were you? Yeah.
yeah, but you knew. Fuck them.
Yeah, I know. But I still, I still hope that at some point I'll be able to just, because to me, Robert's Lol's friend in
Mm,
Lol's band. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
Robert never seemed to me like a massive star.
mm,
He was like my friend's bandmate.
mm,
Yeah? And I
mhm.
love the Cure. I mean, behind me there's a heck of a Cure collection, because I love them.
Speaking of collection, when did the vinyl collecting, really take off for you? Were you, in your
Straight away,
30s or 40s straight
straight
away?
away,
Okay.
sweet. Like I would just ask for sweet stuff, and then Thin Lizzy, and who else did I like? The Runaways, I really liked. I
Did you
like.
did you transition to cassettes and CDs at it for a time, or did you stick with vinyl throughout the whole thing?
I do have some cassettes because when I first got a car, that's the thing that was in
Right.
there. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
That was the
Did you
thing.
make mixtapes?
I did, as we
Yeah.
all did,
That was a
and
big
then
thing. Yeah.
obviously mixed CDs as
Mixed
well.
CDs. Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I still love making a CD compilation for my car because I don't, even though I have quite a nice car and what have you, for some reason it's just before sort of the Bluetooth thing
Mm,
came
mhm.
in. So, but I kind of like it. I like sticking a CD in there and thinking,
Yeah.
oh, this is
Yeah,
a.
it's cool.
Also, I don't mean this in a sort of show off thing, but I've got a convertible. So I love on a hot day just driving through the countryside, listening to music really loud because it's not bothering
Fantastic.
anyone. I don't drive through like suburban areas with like Slipknot playing or something.
Yeah.
But
How
yeah,
big is Norwich?
um, it's that's funny, isn't it? I've never known sort of how I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of some of the American towns or Canadian towns that I've been in that was similar. I think Hamilton in Canada.
Ontario?
Yeah, Hamilton is that what it's called? Hamilton, Ontario?
I think so.
Oh,
I'm not
Hammond. Is it?
Hammond. I don't know Hammond. There's a
Oh,
Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah.
yeah. I remember playing there and thinking, God, this is a lot like Norwich, and like it seemed to be
Okay.
about the same size city centre, that sort of thing. But yeah, I
Okay.
don't. I actually don't know. You'll have to Google that one. I'm afraid, my
All
friend.
right. Maybe somebody can post it for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Norwich is misty. Is it misty?
What right now?
Just in general, I guess. I guess that's the whole of the UK, though, isn't it?
I'm not sure what misty means. No,
Like
Norwich isn't.
overcast.
No, no, no. We've had.
Oh,
I mean, I'll admit there was a downpour this morning, but the last 3 days have been. My colours changed. It's been really hot, really lovely.
yeah.
And my garden that I'm looking at now, it's got an apple tree in it. It's got loads of raspberry bushes.
Oh, sweet.
I've pulling about a pint of raspberries off my bushes every
Oh,
day.
fantastic.
And I love that. What's a biggie in Loki? Do you think we should do a poll on whether people think DD is a real musician or if this is all
This must be way.
for an ego thing? Fucking hell! I tell you something. There's nothing that kicks your ego in the bollocks more than being a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a nice. Yeah, it is
You're
a
really
weird
putting
job,
yourself out there. Yeah.
but the downs are pretty down, but the ups are staggering. Norwich is on my wife's
List
list
of
of best.
places to visit.
Thanks to you, Breakfast King of Lola, whatever it's called. I have a lot of respect for this man because I thought I'd missed out on the Public Image Record Store Day, thing where they remixed the first album, and for some reason in Norwich I couldn't get it. Everywhere I went, they only had we only had one copy or whatever, and I was panicking a bit. And that's where things like Rachel's Ghost come in really handy and are so nice. Is that I mentioned this in one of the Patreon things, and breakfast, our breakfast man, he sent me a link to where I could get one, and it was like,
Oh,
wow,
cool.
it's only about £7 more than I would have paid anyway. And I figured that's a not getting up early enough in the morning tax, because I could have got it if I'd have
Yeah.
got queued at 3 in the morning outside
Right.
my, but I
I'd say
did.
it's the 7 pounds to sleep in and not worry about it. It's no problem whatsoever.
£7. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's that's at $11 or something.
Yeah. So, what was your first car, David? And when did you get it?
My first car was when I had my first proper girlfriend, and we bought a Peugeot, a
Ah.
yeah,
Was
no, a
it
VW Polo. That's what it is. A
Oh, a
VW.
Polo. Okay, I know that car. Yeah, a little like
And,
kinda like a Golf kind of, but
such
little.
a girl's car, though, isn't it?
I wouldn't say I mean, okay, you said it. But
I think I may have at that point been slightly pussy whipped into
easy to park.
putting that. Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. I'm not a big car fiend. It's just I just want one that goes. But then
Yeah.
when I sort of realised that I saw someone else, a friend of mine, who had a convertible, and they gave me a lift in it, and I thought, oh man, this is lovely. It's not the coolness aspect, I hasten to add. It's not a sort of
It's
It's
freedom.
it's being outdoors while
Yeah.
you're having to go somewhere. And I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's it's the same kind of I'm sure there's a lot of similarities between, having a convertible and being on a motorcycle.
Mm.
The smells change every 20 feet, and
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
you're out in the open and there's a sense of freedom there. Yeah. I
What
agree.
I did do when I first got it, though, I had to put a photo on Facebook, which I think has one of the highest counts of likes and reactions. And what it was the first time I went out with it, I looked at myself for a second in the rear view mirror and realized that my hair, which was a lot longer than this,
Yeah.
had just gone up. I looked like the guy from
Yeah.
Eraserhead.
The Razorhead. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I put the picture on Facebook, and I said the caption was, "Buy a convertible," they said. "You'll look cool in it," they said. It's the least cool picture of me in the world.
There's this advertisement where I don't know what it's for, but it's this really cool guy and this gorgeous lady, and they're starting off in a convertible, and
Mm.
her hair is just like going
Oh
all
yeah,
over
yeah,
the place,
yeah.
and then he has his hands on the window buttons, and they're all like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr," and he just tunes them right in, and her hair just falls down beautifully, and she kind of looks over at him. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's true. I've definitely had women in the car where they go,
Yeah,
"Have you got a hat?"
right. Right.
But I think it's great, especially if a girl's got long hair. I love it when we're driving now. It's just like
Oh,
flying
yeah.
around all over.
Yeah.
I think it's quite hot.
Very, very hot.
But there you
I concur. I've had a few. Rochelle had a BMW 3 Series convertible way back in the day when our girls were
go.
younger,
Mm.
and that was fun.
But
Um,
believe me, honestly, I know people don't believe me, but it's not a sort of, hey, look what I've got. It's
no,
like genuine love of just being a bit freer because I don't enjoy driving. You see, I don't. It is an A to B thing. I've
oh,
got to
really?
get
Okay.
somewhere, so I've got to be in a vehicle. I've never been, a car head, if you like.
So you're
Always.
not a road trip guy. You don't just go out to drive.
No, I don't ever. I don't ever think, oh, I'll just go in the car. Oh, well, no, do you know, occasionally, okay, like, I said we've got this really hot weather, right?
Yeah.
In England at the moment, we've got this really hot weather. And it got to about 11 o'clock the other night. It was dark, stars were coming out, and it was just still. And I just thought, I'm going to put the top down, just go and drive out into the country. And so, yeah, on occasions like that, I decided to
Okay.
just go and sit in a field in my car and just lay there looking at the stars. I
Are you
just, I
close enough to be able to like walk to a cafe or
Oh yeah,
a pub and stuff?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. All
I
right.
can, I can be in Norwich city centre in 15 minutes walk.
Okay, so you're close enough that if you want to go grab some groceries or something like that,
Oh
you don't
yeah,
have to drive. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've also, I mean, literally 3 doors down from me on the corner of the road, there's a brilliant convenience shop, convenience store.
Nice.
So if I generally tend to buy things like milk, tea bags, sugar, that sort of stuff for
Oh, speaking of which, what's the tea of choice?
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire tea. Yeah, Yorkshire tea.
Is that just a black tea
It's
or
just an English breakfast tea, but
English breakfast?
it
Okay.
tastes like tea did when I was like a kid, when someone would make you a cup of tea and it just tasted great. And then things like PG Tips and Tetley came along and it just, and then Yorkshire tea started sort of pushing their brand. And I thought, well, I'll try a bit of that. And I just thought, oh yeah, this is tea,
Do you
because I'm
put
a little bit.
cream or milk or what do you add to it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, milk and sugar. Yeah, it's called builder's tea in this country.
Oh, sugar, you like it sweet.
Oh yeah, well, just the one, just the one. Let's
Okay,
not go
one.
crazy,
Okay.
as Prince nearly sang.
Do you use
Um,
2% milk or whole milk or heavy cream? What do you
whole milk,
milk.
heavy
Okay.
cream, extra lard, suet. You know,
Okay.
because
Biscuits?
as you can probably see, I don't really have a weight
Yeah,
problem.
you need to lose a few pounds there, buddy. I don't
Yeah,
know what you're talking
I'm
about.
pretty much the same as I was when I was
Yeah,
18.
yeah.
Except just a bit more wrinkly and there's
Oh, aren't we all?
losing a few tiles on the roof.
I lost
I've
my
noticed
tiles
recently.
middle of my 20s. Yeah. Do you have biscuits with do you like a cookie or a biscuit with your tea or
I'm
just
a dunker. I am a
okay.
dunker. I like to have something that I can just sort of pop that
One
in
thing
there.
that I learned when I went to visit my sister 20 years ago in Belfast were, penguins, where you bite you know what a penguin is? It's the chocolate dipped it's
Oh
a
yeah.
rectangular you bite off the corners, and then you
Oh
put half of it and you suck the
yeah.
tea up into the penguin, and then
Yeah.
you quick put it in your mouth and it just falls apart. Oh
Yeah.
my
But can I
goodness.
recommend a better one
Okay. Yes,
if
please.
you ever find just I was going to say if you're ever in Australia, but yeah, in Australia they've got a thing called a Tim Tam.
Oh, we know Tim Tams, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's got
Yeah.
toffee in the middle, like a penguin,
Yeah.
but like on the
Yeah.
yeah.
We don't have them
That's
here, but I think I've had them before.
that's the first time I nibbled off the left-hand corner, right
Yeah.
bottom hand corner, and did the thing. It's phenomenal, and they call it in Australia. They say a Tim Tam explosion,
Yeah. Look
but
at this. T is for Chinese food or when you're sick. Poor Mazzy.
what?
I do like coffee. Mazzy's a coffee king, but
I like coffee as well, but
yeah.
I'm a tea fiend, and the thing is, it's caused me in my career. The tea thing has come up so many times.
Has
In
it?
that, like, you get to a venue and we've got a rider, obviously, you ask for what you want, and
Mhm.
the amount of promoters that think we're just being funny, where it says that one of us would like tea making facilities, if possible, Yorkshire tea, full milk, sugar, and a proper mug, not a thimble.
Yeah, it's like the cheapest thing that you can put on a rider. Should be easy
Like,
peasy.
all the others are going like, "Oh, 2 bottles of brandy, you can have 3 bottles of red wine," all this, that's the thing, and that's not my thing. I can't play if I'm drunk, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just cut it out. I cut it out. And also, without, giving too much information, I have had a lot of fun after gigs, and I want to remember them. I want to
Oh,
remember it.
yeah,
I
sure.
remember every awesome thing that's ever happened in a hotel room
Yeah,
because I wasn't drunk. I wasn't drunk.
yeah.
And it's good. I'm looking at the chat. This can't be interesting. Me talking about tea.
Sure it is. Yeah, I like
You know what
yeah, all the nitty-gritty about who you are, David, absolutely. What, tell me, what your, so you're young, you're in your 20s, you're gigging, you're playing. What did you have when you had to make a meal at home? Was it just like, um, toast and beans? Or what did you have
I've never been asked that question ever again.
yeah, what were you eating a lot when you were younger?
I am very lazy. And I would say to this day, I'm very much a chopped up chicken breast, one of those pouches of like teriyaki or chow mein or whatever,
Mm,
and noodles. I do that. I'm absolutely in that. I don't really eat much because I've never really been a foodie.
mhm.
I like sort of, I food to me, and a lot of people find this peculiar, but food to me is no more exciting than having to stop at the petrol station and put petrol in your
Interesting.
car. Because if you don't put petrol in the car, it's not going to run. And
Right.
so
You don't
sometimes it's
eat,
like,
you're not gonna run. Yeah.
sometimes I just think, oh God, I need to eat something because I'm getting a bit weak. And however, the weird thing is that whenever I'm on tour, right, I accept everything. It's like I'm up early to get down to the hotel
Oh, yeah.
for breakfast, and I just add like bacon, tomatoes, eggs. I love
Yeah,
all that, and then maybe like, oh, those croissants look nice over there. I'll go and have those. It's amazing, that I don't come back.
yeah.
You know, that
I don't eat breakfast hardly ever, but when I'm driving my truck overnight, the company puts me up in a hotel, and
yeah,
they're generally a breakfast the next morning,
yeah,
and I'll make a plate before I go out to the truck for sure every time.
yeah. And then when we get to the venue, they either offer you, well, it depends what the contract is, but they either offer you a buyout where they give every band, like every member of the band, say 30 quid to go and get something, and sometimes with Glenn Matlock it was different because Glenn is a very generous man to his band, and he would always take us pre-gig. He'd take us to a restaurant which must have cost more than we got for the gig, surely.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? But that's Glenn. He uses the money that he's made in just to keep funding the fact that he loves playing music. He's a songwriter. I know he's one of the Sex Pistols, but he was the one that, he loved the Kinks, the Small Faces, the Who, that sort of stuff. He's a songwriter. He and I think he's fantastic.
that's
Obviously,
cool.
he's like an ex-boss of mine. So, um,
Have you ever had an emergency on stage at all? I
which
and I
way
don't
do you
mean
want to
I don't mean
start?
necessarily just digestive, but any kind of thing on stage that took you off guard or that caused, threw a wrench in the works?
Yeah, quite a lot, quite a lot. I mean, I
Mostly
played.
topless women in the audience, but other than that.
Yeah, yeah, that's always a little bit off-putting. But I've got some great photos actually from a Czech Republic festival that we did and stuff. And at the end, my guitar tech came on and was just taking loads of pictures. And I was thinking, what's he taking pictures of? And where my guitar pedal was, there was like 2 bras and a pair of knickers, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah,
I've had underwear thrown at me several times, which
I'm sure.
honestly, I want to sort of get them and go, there's a lovely gesture, love, but I think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you're looking at on stage. Because I am split personality, really. I'm very quiet when I'm not on stage
Okay.
and a bit of a maniac when I am.
Let's what was so in your 20s you're probably doing several different things, and was there what was the first kind of like, whoa, your first kind of big opportunity, or one that really hit you, or not necessarily the one, but a one when you're still young, that was like
Well,
you
again,
felt
I have
like
to go
you've
back.
been like your hard work had been justified. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Because I was going to say, the first total eye opener that made me say, yes, this is what I want to do is when, Lowell said, do you want to come down to
Hmm.
London? I ended up filling in for various members, and I ended up just, hanging in the studio and stuff. And I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. And just in case people are thinking that, it's because of all the glitz and glamour and stuff. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just, it's a studio called Jam Studios in Tollington Park in London. They were just putting down some demos, a nice live room and all that sort of stuff, but it wasn't luxury. And then at the end, because we always recorded through the night, we would get there about 7 and leave at 6 in the morning, sort of thing.
Hmm.
And we would all just pile in to Phil Thornley's Volkswagen, and he would drive through the various bits of London, dropping us all off. And it
Yeah.
was just like, I thought, God, this is like being in my band, but they're on top of the pops and they're
Yeah.
selling loads of records. And I loved the fact that it wasn't as weird as I thought it would be. I thought it'd be completely another world. And it's, yes, it's another world, but not in the way that I was expecting. All bands go through the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I found that hysterical.
Did you see, was, I mean, so that, it wasn't the glitz and the glam, but it sounds like more of the brotherhood, or that
Yeah, I
kind of
love that.
the
Yeah. And
fraternal order of musicians, that when you're in that flow state together playing, and
yeah.
it's a drug, isn't it? I mean, there's something really special about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it was, I didn't immediately turn professional in bands, obviously,
Mm.
but I did a lot of crewing and teching. I've been the guitar tech for Mick Jones from the Clash, Viv Albertine from the Slits. Did a lot for Glenn Matlock before he said, "Do you want to join?" That was
Mm.
nice. And so I've basically, Clem Burke, I was his drum roadie for a bit, and Paul Cook from the Sex Pistols, or Professionals as he was at the time. And who else have I done? Oh yeah, there's a brilliant band called Comaneci, and it's basically a short Japanese girl on the drums who's nuts, and then a guy who's plays very, very loud, crazy guitar, who ended up as an actor in Stranger Things. But yeah, I was looking after this woman in her gigs, and her bass drum pedal broke at one point. It snapped, and I got down on my hands and knees behind the kit, and I was trying to basically hit the drum with the back of my hand whilst fixing the actual pedal.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking to her to just sort of say, right, that's that, and realised that she, apart from wearing a leather skirt, she was not wearing anything underneath.
Oh no.
And I just thought, well, I suppose you need a bit of air, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, David, have you ever been fired from a band, or had to fire someone from a band, or ever witnessed
Oh,
something?
good question.
That is a good question. I'm going to have to split it into those bits. David, have you ever been fired from a band? Yeah, sadly, I was, but I think it was more of a misunderstanding. I was standing in for a band I was playing guitar in a band called Sham 69, which is a punk band from England. and they had a lot of hits like If the Kids Are United, Hurry Up Harry, Hersham Boys, all that sort of stuff. So they're one of the early punk bands. And I was trying to play guitar with them, but I was also playing drums with Adam Ant. And we had, festivals and stuff. And I just basically got an email one day saying, the guys from Sham 69 saying, look, Dave, we think you feel your priorities are elsewhere. And so I think it was Tony from the Angelic Upstarts took over me. So, but it's a shame because I love Sham 69. I've got a whole bunch of records of theirs next to me. But yeah, the fact is, I can say I've done it. Have you ever witnessed someone? Well, yeah, obviously Lol from The Cure, Ed from The Darkness. I was literally there with the rest of the band. It was me, Justin, Dan Hawkins, Frankie, and Ed, and I was there when not fired, but they decided to call it a day there. So maybe not a firing, but was there a third?
No, and just basically, how did they handle it?
Oh, I have had to fire someone. Yeah, I have actually.
Okay.
Yeah, from a band called Abby. I don't know whether I want to say it though because it's a bit. It's not very professional. But yeah, there was someone that was came into a band and stuff, and for some reason, because I thought the reason I chose this guy is because he hadn't done anything, but we had, and I thought it'd be good to get a bit of fresh blood in there. But it was a terrible decision because he just kept saying, "Oh, he was playing sets that things are on singles, things that the band love, or the audience love. I hate saying fans, but supporters." And he just kept altering these bass lines, and I kept stopping, going, "That's what you're doing there." And he goes, "Oh, I think it'd be better if you do this." And I thought, "Fuck." Do you think that when I was playing with The Cure, I said, "You know what? I think a Forest could have a A beat in it, or maybe that I'm Friday, I'm in love. So I'm like, let's make it Saturday." It's you don't do it. You don't do it. If you join something that is already on record and unless they say different, you learn it stick for stick, and you learn it string for string, note for note. So because that's what I want to hear in an audience. I went and saw Madonna once, and she did some weird sort of Marlena Dietrich version of Like a Virgin, and I just thought, I sort of only came along because I like your first two albums, and you've just and Holiday as well was some sort of weird samba thing that she'd put it in. It's like, no, I want to hear Holiday and Like a Virgin.
Yeah. What was your first trip to mainland Europe to play music, and what was that like?
Well, it's funny actually because I joined after I'd done my Cure thing, because Lol Tolhurst produced a band called Baroque Bordello. Excuse me. Where is it? I am in alphabetical, so don't worry, it won't take long. I'll say that with all confidence. Hold on. It's got to be here. Here we are. Yeah, Lol produced this single by French band Baroque Bordello, right? Who are like a sort of French Susie and the Banshees, if you like, or actually a French Blondie, I'd say, because our singer was a very attractive, sort of blonde stripper at the weekend type, and they needed a keyboard player and guitarist, and I said, well, I can play keyboards. I don't particularly enjoy it. It's my least good instrument. But I thought, why not? Let's go. And I loved them. I thought it sounded fantastic. So I went over and I lived in Paris for a while. So that was my first real sort of, European thing. And then when I actually joined the next professional band I was doing, then we did 3 American tours in a row.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then we sort of hit Europe for 3 years straight, I'd say. I think it's. I mean, I loved it though. I absolutely loved it. Um, I I just did. I loved getting home after being in like the States for 5 weeks or something, and then there's the weird feeling that comes over to you when you go into your town centre and everyone looks like an alien because you've not dealt with normal people for five
Right.
weeks, and you open your fridge and you think, okay, there's absolutely, yes, I cleared it before I went away. And it's kind of like all that stuff that you have to put back together, and then like a fortnight later I'm packing my case again and off. But I loved it. I really loved it. I loved being able to see, because like I say, I wasn't an academic at school, and I haven't gone that way since. And so I just had to concentrate on the one thing that I was good at, and I was hoping it would unlock the key to go to places I couldn't possibly afford to go to.
Yeah.
So, the fact that, gone to Brazil and the Czech Republic, and I mean, I don't know how many countries in Europe, obviously, France, Germany,
Do you have some
Switzerland.
favorite cities?
Sorry?
Do you have some favorite cities that you've played in or visited that you like,
I
whether it's
really
in
loved
Europe or the
LA,
UK?
actually.
LA?
I
Okay.
liked LA because it's just like, the weather was lovely as well. You're
It
just
is.
so,
Yeah.
um, it's just not blaking hot like it is. I'm muggy and stuff. It's just like there's this lovely sort of breeze going down, but you only still need to wear a t-shirt.
Right.
And obviously it's a very musical place and all that sort of stuff. But I remember playing a gig in Los Angeles, and I hid in the manager's office, hiding from a porn star who was absolutely intent that I was going to be some sort of prize. And it wasn't that I didn't want to, but it's just I had a girlfriend back home, and I like to be a good guy.
Yeah.
If I'm single, I'm a nightmare. Just approach me.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if I'm with someone, I don't like infidelity, or it
Yeah,
just
you're
felt.
a one-woman guy. That's great.
But
Yeah.
honestly, it was hell on toast though, because this woman was smoking, man. It's just fantastic. And she was walking around the place going, "Where's the guitarist? Where's that guitarist?" And
Oh.
so
How
yeah.
long were you in LA?
Sorry,
How long were you in LA?
I think we did. Is Huntington Beach in LA?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the last one. So I think we did about 3 or 4. I think we did
Okay.
3 or 4 in New York. I know we did the Trash Bar, and we did a Trash Bar was a warm up for BB King's in Times Square, which was cool.
Who was the band you were playing with at that time?
That was a Sex Pistols. It was called the Sex Pistols Experience, which is like people who had a link with the Sex Pistols doing like Sex
Okay.
Pistols covers and stuff and what have you. But it was like a theatre show more than anything else.
Oh, really? Okay.
Great laugh. It was really, really good, and that actually led to me joining Glenn's band.
Interesting.
So that was cool
Right
because
on.
in music you have to just. I didn't want a normal job. I'd had normal jobs and I fucking hated them. I just hated it.
Yeah.
And there's like middle managers and things like that. People just with an overblown level of self-importance, which you get in the VC, I guess. But
Sure.
you get people who just, you know, they're weird people. Yeah, I suppose once I joined Glenn's band, that's when things really took off, and I got involved with all the Bowie bunch and all that sort of thing.
How
And
long did you play with Glenn?
6 years, I think.
Oh, wow. That's a
6 years,
chunk of
yeah.
time.
2010 to 2006. Well, really, it's 2000, maybe 2010 to 2015. But I think we did a one-off. I think our very last gig was the 2016, and that was. It's not like, and again, wasn't fired, wasn't that. So it's just Glenn has always had different bands. This one was called Glenn Matlock and the Philistines.
Oh, cool.
And the Born Running tour is the one that I did. And
What were you playing drums or bass or what were you
drums
doing?
for that one, yeah, drums
Okay.
for that one. I mean, I always say to people, I'm not the best at anything. I'm not.
Well, I saw that drumming on those videos a couple weeks ago. You're pretty damn good, man. That
Yeah, but
sounded
I'm never going
really
to get
good.
asked to stand in for Mike Portnoy, am I?
No.
Dream Theater or
You
something, you
can
know.
you can hold your own, no doubt about it, man. It sounded
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the same with guitar, really. I can do what you want me to do, but I'm not Van Halen, you know.
yeah,
I could assimilate Van Halen, but
yeah.
you know, no. But and also I'm more of a punk guitarist. I like Steve Jones is right up there for me. You know, he's the man. And but yeah, have I missed anything that people rather than rattling on about?
I don't think so. They're kinda talking amongst themselves too, some
Oh, that's good. Oh,
geology.
what was here we go. Now a topic that people want. David, please rank your wags, but don't be crass. I won't be crass. A lot of people have said to me, said like, "Oh, I suppose being in a sort of, you know, a fairly well-known band, particularly when you go abroad, you know, you must get a lot of women and stuff." But all I can say is it affords you the privilege of being dumped by slightly better-looking women later. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it tracks them, but they don't hang around if they're, you know, I don't know. I've had a thing. I have been so lucky on the women front. I don't know how on earth they sort of gravitated towards me, but I guess it's got to be what I do. It isn't this face. I mean, I don't know
Uh,
what women rub one out to, but I know it isn't me.
you're a good-looking guy, David. You don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that.
not that good looking,
Yeah.
not Johnny
Well,
Depp
that's
looking.
not, you know, any women that's super important to you don't want anyway. They're in it
Yeah,
for
absolutely. Yeah,
other reasons. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you Can I ask if are you in a relationship right now? Or are you,
I do. I keep that sort of thing secret. My
Oh,
present
fair
sort
enough,
of thing,
fair
you know,
enough. That's cool.
just because on the internet, you know, it can
Yeah.
be it can be intrusive, and like
Yeah, yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not with someone, I don't want people thinking, "Oh, what a sado." And if I am with someone and I sort of publicize it, and I don't want people to send her any messages
Yeah.
or
Yeah, no,
and
all
also
good, all
because I've
good.
been out, I have had relationships with a couple of famous people. I've got into the habit of like not saying anything
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
it's a pain. It is a pain.
yeah, it can be trouble. Yeah.
And you know, if you have someone, if you're going out with someone, say in an industry where they're unclothed a
Yeah.
lot of the time or whatever, it's really weird for people to come up to you and go, "Oh man, I love your girlfriend's tits. They're amazing."
Yeah.
So people feel they can do that.
Yeah, that's, yeah, that's over the line.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's just one of those things, I suppose.
Did you ever, so, you know, it sounds like you stayed busy through your 20s and 30s and up until now, and did you ever get to a point where you're just like, you get burned out at all doing
I'm
music?
sort of there
Are
on
you?
the because I was thinking recently, I was just thinking I could retire, you know, and I thought I didn't want to do. I certainly don't think I want to get into the back of a people carrier bus type tour and what have you, because I really
Yeah.
enjoy the sort of tour busy stuff. But also, like I say, I'm pretty fit and I'm doing well for my age in that. But I am 58, and it is tiring. It is more tiring, you know. And you also sort of miss different things. Um, you know, I never used to really be a homebody, but now I love coming home.
I love being home, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got all this stuff to,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
marvelous. You know, I
I'll
like it.
just, sit down with Rochelle and listen to records all evening and read a book and just, and then watch a movie later and just, I'd rather do that than just about go anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. And
Um,
but sorry, yeah.
no,
Question.
did when like what is can you describe a little bit, is it because you're producing stuff at home and doing that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it
I've
mostly
got.
the
I mean,
grind
I've
of
got.
the road that you're tired and not the music, not playing music so much?
No, no. I mean, I did my Venus Reaction single,
Yeah.
which is really good, and I did it exactly how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be on a you know see-through clear vinyl.
Oh, that's cool.
Comes with a download card. I'm not trying to flog it because it's actually
No, please
sold
do.
out.
Oh,
It's
is it?
actually
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it's actually sold out from all the distributors. Except if you do want one, I'm not trying to plug it because I'm quite happy to hold on to them. But the record company, when all the distributors had sold out, they let me have a box of 20.
Mm.
So, you know, if you do, and the lineup on it is pretty good. It's Amy Conradine, who's a very good looking lady, and myself, obviously, Glenn Matlock on bass from the Pistols,
Oh,
and
cool.
Ed Graham from the Darkness on drums. The Stereophonics Jim Lowe mixed it, and it was engineered. It was produced by me, but it was mastered by John Davis at Metropolitan Studios. He did the Led Zeppelin remasters. Just so much, everything from Lana Del Rey to Iron Maiden, you know.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I wanted him to do it because I like the stereophonic sounds, and Jim I wanted as well because Jim's just an amazing, you know, thing. And now when I do my stuff with Peaceful Cacophony, which we haven't released any. We've released stuff on Bandcamp, and there's about 4 videos you can watch if you want to look at Peaceful Cacophony.
Okay.
That is my band with Denise Wise, and
Okay.
and she's we got together over COVID, you know, professionally, I hate to add. And we just, because of COVID, we became like in each other's bubble. And so we used to just record around here through the night and stuff. We ended up writing 12 tracks, and I think we've recorded 10 so far.
Oh, wow.
So there will be an album. And I've loved doing that, and I've really enjoyed doing the videos for them as well.
Do you like the engineering, the mixing and all that, the mastering and that kind of stuff?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, no, let me just say, I like doing it for other people and stuff. But what I really love is when I do my stuff, like when we do this thing. Mark Anthony Kay, who is a Canadian that has
I've seen him on some streams and stuff. I think I've been on a panel once or twice.
His project is Project Gemini.
Yeah.
I was lucky to play on these two.
Great cover art that he's got, isn't it?
Oh, it's great, and every time you got the lovely colours and stuff. And I think on the next one up, I'm not on the album, but I am on the download card. We did some covers, just for an extra download card. Because I mean, this guy, you know, you get a poster, you get a download card, but not just a shitty one like my one in Venus Reaction. You get one that's like, you know, it's like a ticket for a space shuttle ride or something like that. It's like the guy absolutely gets it. And if I may have a little rant at the moment, I'm really fed up with seeing people who I absolutely know are millionaires or they've got a lot of money calling themselves independent artists because they've just put it on their own label and their stuff, you know, and they go, oh yeah, I've got no help. Yeah, you are. You're fucking independent artist, my ass. You know, everyone's clambering over to get your thing because they want it. I don't want to sound bitter. I'm just saying it's a fact. Yeah. And people like Mark should be national heroes really somewhere because like he puts out quality stuff. The music's amazing.
Is there a place that I can stream his stuff at all, or do I have to get the record to? I mean, I'd love to buy a record.
You have to download it, but you know, you can get the vinyl edition, the CD edition, or if you want to download it and just have it on your phone or whatever, then that's cool. I personally, you know, love a poster, and
yeah, I'd love the vinyl.
That's my sickness.
What kind of music is it?
I'd say it's new prog.
Okay.
In that it's closer to me. I think it's closer to Muse than Genesis.
Oh, here, Breakfast King said Bandcamp has his titles. Okay.
Yeah, you can get stuff, and you can also, and that's also where you can get the Venus Reaction single.
Okay. All right.
Not on Mark's.
No.
On mine. On Venus Reactions.
All right.
But you know, the thing is with Mark is that's how I got into the whole VC thing. Really was, Harry's right. I mean, they are. The guy's a bit of a genius, you know. I mean, not in the sort of Cohen, what, you know, that sort of thing, Steve Wilson type of thing. But you think this guy does it all by himself, as indeed I do with like Peaceful Cacophony is me doing all the instruments, engineering, producing, and Denise doing the lyrics and vocals and looking brilliant.
But you send your stuff to Mark Anthony then?
I do. I send our stuff to there because I'm too close to it. You know, I'll send him what I call a reference mix, saying this is how I think it sounds good, and then he'll always send me back something like 10 times better.
That's why authors have editors. Yeah. You
And
need that.
also, Choose Your Weapon is another band that I've got. Choose Your Weapon is myself and
Oh, yeah, we
Jamie.
saw that you and that lady that we were on, Rachel's stream last week,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
played
She
some
was
videos?
stuck for. She was
Yeah,
having a bit of. She was stuck for content, wasn't she? And
yeah,
so I just said, well, just pop this on. I
yeah,
thought that the guys might like Jamie and Michelle. Yeah, that's a trio with myself
yeah, it looks
and
like fun.
it's fantastic. And again, it's great because we're split into those sections. Michelle writes all the lyrics because she's a poet and a screenplay writer and a playwright and all that sort of stuff. Words are her thing. So she writes all that sort of stuff. We'll talk about a subject we want to do, and then Michelle goes and does it. And then I get inspired by whatever she's written to make the tune and to start putting that together. And then Jamie comes in, looks at the words, and just works out how to just put it to my music. And I love that band. I love that band, and we do want to release some stuff. It's just that none of us live in the same place.
Do you hear a melody line before you tinker around on a guitar, or do you tinker and create the melody line generally?
You know what? It can come from anywhere. It can come from anywhere. Sometimes I'm sort of standing, waiting for the kettle to boil, and I'll start going. And I'll think, oh, that's quite good.
Mhm.
So I'll quickly, like I say, quickly get on here, bang, 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 set up a track, get the keyboard to be a drum kit, and just put a very sort of and then I might just grab the bass behind me and and then just keep going,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. On the other hand, Denise and Michelle have both sort of said, I wrote this the other day, and I've read the lyrics, and I thought, I know exactly how that needs to sound. It's the vibe of the lyrics immediately tell me whether it's slow, fast, sad, melancholic, angry, whatever, and
Hmm.
that's I would say that's my that is my if I have a real talent, it's joining in. It's basically being out someone to just give me a little sniff of an idea, and then I'm off.
Yeah, you can complement a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
I
That's
find it
cool.
incredibly hard to just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Like, let's make a song tonight. I need.
Yeah, you need a little inspiration, something to push you in the right direction, kind of. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's cool. Um, so you like to keep a lot of irons in the fire and kinda keep do you need to do that to keep
I
are
was
you
going to
like,
say, I love the idea that it's a choice, but no, it is. It's so difficult to earn the living that I used to now.
yeah,
Especially, we had two kicks in the nuts basically, which was COVID and Brexit. Because I don't know how much your viewers know about Brexit,
yeah, well,
but
my sister lives in Belfast, so we get the yeah, the word on
I
them.
mean, I begged a lot of my friends, please don't vote to leave because it'll kill my career. And it's one of the things that kind of very little upsets me about Rachel and on Rachel's
Mm,
Ghost and stuff, and but it did upset me when she was going on about Brexit being a brilliant thing and all that. And I did say to her, you do realize my career is almost over if this goes through. And the thing is, the
mhm,
reason is that because I'm a hired gun, right? So I get hired by people to go on a tour, and I can't do more than 30 days in Europe now. I
yeah,
can't. And 30 days is, think about it. It's like it's a month.
right.
So like my friend Steve, for instance, he got the worst of it, I think. For 12 years, he was Anastasia's drummer, doing stadiums around the world, you know? And the tour manager, the guy that rang him up and he said, Steve, don't really know how to tell you this, but we can't have you come on the tour because we're doing far too many European dates and you can only do 30 of them. And it's like even Anastasia took it up with the musicians union and said, "Look, I want my engine room, I want my bass player, and I want my drummer that's been behind me for like 12 years, you
Mhm.
know. No.
Oh, that's so sad. I
And that's
just
like, you know, he's a family man, and you know, he's got a kid and stuff like that. And like, I mean, he's doing well. He's like, he plays with Annie Lennox and all sorts of stuff. But it's kind of he really enjoyed the Anastasia job, I think. You
yeah.
know, really enjoyed that. And he started with a lot of pop artists like Atomic Kitten and
Well, when a bunch
that's.
of knuckleheads take it out of your hands, that's just
But it's made these decisions are made. It's like I was watching something the other night, and they were talking about there's like an MP who just clearly was telling the House what he thinks that a single mother should be given to feed a child and what have you.
hmm,
Do you not think
yeah,
it might be worth asking the single mothers what
yeah,
that is? Do you know what I mean? It's people making decisions when they're very not overly aware of the facts.
yeah.
You know, I just find it. You know, I find it very sad.
I love this word, grocery. It's an old word. People are saying
Great
it
word,
now.
the greatest
I,
word. It's the greatest
grocery,
word.
yeah.
Big. Now, I have to say, I don't understand a lot about American politics. I do watch the news. I try and be
Who
informed.
does?
I try and be informed in that. But last night there was something on there, and they were saying that Trump's big beautiful bill. He's
Yeah,
it's a tax cutting thing, and it's all that. And then the guy just added at the end. He said this has increased America's general deficit by £3 trillion. And I
right.
was going,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
that doesn't that rather blank out the good bit that you were
It
just
does.
talking about?
It does. 35% of our national debt has come under Trump's administration, the first and the second, and it's that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that legislation too. I mean, we don't have to get political, but I have very strong feelings about what it's going to do to very needy people in the United States, including to a large extent the people that voted for Trump. They're about to suffer. Um, Tremendously because of this, and we'll see what happens. But,
I tell you what Harry does actually. Harry's Music's Room on his Facebook.
yeah,
Now I don't know whether he Facebooks people up generally in that, but what I like on there is that he's not a shouty sort of like, oh, this guy's a fucking this, that, and the other and stuff. He tends to just put up facts, and I'd just like to say that word again, facts that have come from
yeah,
actual sources about the craziness of what Trump says he's done. And then there's always a balancing point where, but he also did this, and it's shit.
yeah,
It's crazy, and it's like in this country, right? We've got a thing here is that like James Cameron, right? James Cameron was going to move his entire film-making industry to over here because we give American companies a tax break for filming at Pinewood and all that sort of stuff.
mhm,
The things there, including like the Avengers films, Batman films, all that sort of the real big Marvel, what have you, that sort of stuff. But he's not going to do it now. I know James Cameron doesn't do those films. I'm just saying he was going to
yeah,
bring his whole thing over here. He's not going to do it now because they're going to get taxed through the nose now if they because this weird tax where if it's a foreign film
yeah,
get nailed. And then I suddenly thought, God, what if that stretches to albums where like an American band wants to record at Abbey Road and they get absolutely hammered tax wise, so they don't bother coming, and doing that. I mean, where's it going to end?
yeah.
Books?
I mean, any industry, if you find yourself in Trump's crosshairs, who knows
Yeah,
what can happen? And this kind of unilateral power that everybody's just kind of granted him, that the rest of the right has just allowed him to do all this stuff. The tariffs and all that is completely unconstitutional. Bombing
yeah.
Iran, unconstitutional. All this stuff. Yeah, it's
But I mean, like I say,
mind blowing.
don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking from any position of particular knowledge. I watch the news, I research things, I listen to people I trust who don't, and I do. I said to Rachel the other day, I would listen to you about what you've got to say about Trump if the minute I say something, but what about this? She doesn't tell me I'm a commie bastard that I need to shove this up my ass and all this sort of stuff because that's not helping. I
Yeah,
want to know why you know, Scoozy, or because I love those guys. You know,
I do
Rachel
too.
and
Yeah.
Scoozy have been great to me. And the most confusing thing is how people as lovely as that can get behind who is clearly just an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, grab them by the pussy. Really? Yeah. Well, I've been in a situation in bands where I could if I wanted to, but I don't because I'm a fucking normal human being. What sort of that is like? Yeah, sexual assault's fine, is it? You know,
See,
and then
the
when
evangelical, response to that is God can use a flawed man to, because one thing you have to remember is that the vast majority of his supporters are evangelicals. That's where the big base is, and so they have this biblical and scriptural, justification for believing what they that he's the right man. And the evangelicals believe that you're born wretched, that you're born sinful, and that you need redemption. Well, they see in Trump themselves, and they see that this man can have power, and he can be anointed by God. So they defend that, and it's just this weird religious head game that they play, and there's really no arguing out of it. You can't. These people are so averse to accepting that they may be wrong about something because their whole life shatters around it. So
mm,
it's very, very difficult to get the MAGA and evangelicals to admit that they may be wrong about something. When that's one of the most freeing things is to be able to say, I may be wrong, I'm probably wrong, I could be wrong. It just takes the whole weight off your shoulders of all of that, but
yeah,
they
but
don't
that's what
understand
I've
that.
always said to anyone who wanted to argue Brexit with me or anyone that I said, I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
arrogant enough to say this is how it is. But the trouble is with I think with the supporters of people like and Biden and that. I mean, like I say, I'm English and stuff. I don't think Biden was any. He was about to die. I mean, I'm amazed
yeah,
he's still with us.
yeah.
But I didn't think he was particularly good, and I don't think that the lady that was going to go, what's her name, Carmela. So that I don't. She didn't really seem to have her shit together.
No, it was a messed up situation, and the Democrats they've ruined it for themselves in a lot of ways. Uh,
But
yeah,
the thing is, the
he's
thing
not
I
Christ-like at all, Norman.
yeah, but I think the thing is, it's like it's not a case of just like say knowing loads and me saying it's very much a vibe of what a horrible person that guy is, and he's the least presidential person I've
Yeah.
ever met. And you know, the Americans, I always felt when I've toured American stuff, they're really into family values and stuff, which doesn't embrace
I think
shagging
that's a facade to a large extent.
shagging porn stars, cheating on your first stepmother. What did you know what I mean, or
He's
whatever
cheated
it
on
was?
all 3 of his wives.
But it's
Yeah.
just that's not family values.
No, it's not.
I've got more family values than him, and I haven't got kids.
Yeah. No, but see, the thing is God can use a flawed man to do his bidding on earth, and so it doesn't matter what he does. He
That's a
could
love.
be he could
It's a
have
good
done a lot
part, of
worse and
course,
they'll
isn't it?
still be okay with it. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, the Harry just put up which whose pussy would Jesus grab. Well, that must have been an awkward conversation with his mum, you know, where he goes, "I've got a girlfriend, mum. Actually, she's a prostitute. Actually, oh
Yeah.
right, what's her name? Mary." It's not good, is it?
No.
Oh dear. And also,
Um,
did you see this again? This isn't me trying to turn anyone to the Democratic side. I think they're pretty crap as well, to be
yeah,
honest.
for sure. A
They
lot of
need a
in a lot of
real
ways, they're just 2 sides of the same coin.
sort of someone behind them, or the Republicans. I'm not anti-Republican, just because I don't know enough. But the hateful people, the way they talk to people, but also, and like I say, so much love for Rachel and Scoozy, but the way their supporters talk to people, I can't stand it. If I think I don't know something about something, I just want the person with the opposing view to just tell me why they, and also I'll need sources and I want to know where they got it from. That, you know, it's like I read it on the internet. It's not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just like I say, don't get me wrong. This almost isn't a political discussion. This is a human discussion.
Yeah, you know, and
I
when you
want
revert to
someone in our
ridicule,
country and yours
yeah.
that cares. And also, I think it would be really useful if they could sort of have prime ministers and presidents that will live long enough after their term to see what they did. when they, because I mean, but that was the thing about Biden. I was thinking he could do anything, and he's only got a few years to sort of suffer the results. I think let's have someone in their 50s or something, shall we?
Yeah.
50s,
I know,
60s.
I know. We definitely need that. I think, hopefully the pendulum has swung far enough one way, now we'll get it to swing back the other way.
Yeah,
Let's,
yeah, yeah.
here's a question. I love Stephen Malkmus. Do you know Stephen Malkmus?
No.
He's from Portland, I believe, but he was in Pavement, the band Pavement, and then he did his own thing, and then he was Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks. I didn't know you liked Stephen Malkmus, Loki, but that's really cool. I don't know Something Happens or Sisters of Mercy.
I know Sisters of
Um,
Mercy.
do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Check it. You might. I don't know. Stephen Malkmus is very unique. Um, but he's done like his album Pig Lib is really good, and there's anything by Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
Kind of
and
good
this is
Northwest stuff,
it's another thing I love about the VC.
right?
'Cause I don't know who I don't care who it is, but if they present me with something that I've not heard of or I want to check it out, I want to check it out. I'm still hungry
Yeah,
to find that thing. I mean, it drives me nuts when because obviously being in bands and that, I see so many support bands and some of them are amazing and you never hear them again. It's like, and I always buy their CD off the merch desk or something like that. And I just think, how are they not headlining Glastonbury or, or at least in one of the big tents?
yeah.
And but it doesn't. So I'm always ears open for, and even like I think I said on Rachel's today, William, controversial figure. I just find his actual sort of angry streams jaw dropping. But I don't know if have you ever heard of his DJ sets that he does?
I haven't listened
He
to
did
any of his
a
stuff.
reggae one the other day, and it's like it's a music that I like the chilled outness, but I don't really understand it. And no, Loki, I love Sisters of Mercy. I could pull out so much stuff around here. But no, I mean, William did he did a reggae one, which again, I quite like the Trojan stuff, and I wasn't quite sure what's thing, but he's a frustrating character, William, because I've heard him do DJ sets before. I still haven't subscribed to him because I don't want to get all pulled in, but I do tune in when he's doing one of his Saturday night things because it's usually stuff I've not heard before. And it's usually like, wow, this is good. But that reggae one, I played it twice in a row because it was just so relaxing and cool, and it was just one of those nights. It was perfect. And I wish he could realize that, he's very good at putting set lists together.
Yeah.
So just forget about all these people that he thinks are after him and that, because I really don't think they are.
Yeah, it was going so well today, and then all of a sudden it kind of took a turn, didn't it?
Well, it's the thing. It's that I've met people before, of course, like they've got an ignition point,
Yeah.
and unfortunately
Something triggers it.
that is the case.
Well, let's see. We're getting some time. I have these questions that I ask everybody, David. I'm sure we could talk a long time.
I was going to say I've got things down here ready just in case you mention something, and I'll.
Well, I can. Let me. If there's anything you want to show or any direction you want to go, this is the opportunity. I've got some questions that I ask everybody before we wrap it up. But if you want to show some records, I'd love to see some.
Well, only because I thought you might sort of ask certain things about like my earlier stuff. So that Sonic City was the first thing. I joined an indie band called Stare. We were signed to Big Life, and we did 3 singles, and we recorded an album, but they dropped us. And I remember we got the call saying they weren't going to renew our contract on Christmas Eve. From the A&R man.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. And he said, oh, I didn't want you to sort of come into the office on January and then, and then just, oh, well, thanks. Yeah. Happy Christmas. Oh, that's good. And then just that wasn't good. But, we did live radio concerts. We did, I did some brilliant stuff. I really loved it. Again, it's okay. I'm not bitter. I'm amazed that I got to do some of the stuff I did. And I joined a band called Ivy. And there is a US Ivy. We had to call ourselves Ivy UK after a while. But we did, we did a series of singles. We did do an album, but it's only on CD, so I didn't think I'd show it. But yeah, that's Ivy. We were part of the sort of jingly jangly guitar indie type sort of thing, and that was really good. And then one of my favorite things is I had to do a stand-in job for a band, an all-girl band called Compact Pussycat. And I absolutely loved them. They were one of my cool.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
were chilling, William.
No, William, like I say, honestly, mate, I mean, I remember the first time I tried to compliment you when you were at Sarah's Raging Tomato thing. I tried to compliment you about something you'd done on a channel, and you thought I was taking the piss, and you came at me. But no, I think some of the things you do, William, are really good. They're quality. You pick the right songs, the vibe, and all that sort of thing. I just can't cope when you're going off on stuff that just doesn't sound real. Like I'm sure people aren't against you unless you've had a go at them, and that's understandable. But anyway, that's not the point. William, I think you're a brilliant DJ. I really love when you do one of those Saturday night things. I always stick it on, and I probably will subscribe to you, but if I just don't want to it's the other people, William, they're fucking mental, dude. Anyway, glad about that. So but yeah, Compact Pussycat, I loved that because I used to be their roadie. And then when Ella, the drummer, needed to go and create a child, I stood in for a while, and so
neat.
that's Compact Pussycat.
Okay.
And they altered my life in many, many ways because I worked for them a long time, and I use this bass. I use this bass on everything now because it's Helen, the bassist. If you go on YouTube and put in Remembering Helen Stafford, and she unfortunately took her own life a while ago, and that has led to 3 years of therapy for me. I'm still doing it, but this is the way that I keep her alive, to play her bass and what have you. And so that's a very special thing, my time with Compact Pussycat.
Okay.
And also, it ain't too bad being an all-girl band.
Oh, for sure, right? That'd be fantastic.
And so I suppose that's equally the same with Choose Your Weapon, isn't it? Me and two women. But Jenny from Compact Pussycat put her own single out under the name Burnt Dahlia in a rather lovely bubblegum vinyl.
Oh, cool.
Which is all rather good. So that was another good one. And yeah, I just bought that. I mean, my proudest moment is probably playing on the Daphne Guinness album.
Oh, neat. What year was that?
It was, I can't remember now. It was only about 5 years ago or so.
Okay. All right.
But Daphne Guinness, I mean, I should have done this before. It's annoying, isn't it, on
It's
podcast?
all good. Don't worry about it.
But it's just, I think it's because it's such a quality item when it came out, and it's, it's got this lovely triple sleeve.
Oh, that's neat.
And like for the relaunch, she hired the BFI, the British Film Institute place, which is like the largest cinema, in London and stuff. And they played the promo videos from it, and she's just ace. And Daphne's great. And it was produced by Tony Visconti. Oh, sorry, I can never work out this left-right thing. Yeah, it's great booklet. I'm not trying to flog it to people. If you want it,
no, you like it.
Yeah. I'm just happy that I'm on it, and it's mine. And because she knew I was a vinyl collector, she gave me one of only 5 test pressings.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So I was really, really chuffed with that.
That's neat.
And then just to illustrate my kickoff point, I suppose this is when I very, very first met The Cure on the Faith tour. And that's the night me and Lol Tolhurst exchanged numbers and addresses.
That's cool.
But it's fully signed.
Yeah.
It says to David from Lawrence and Simon and Robert, and then Robert's put and no one else.
That's cool.
So that's let me see if I got anything else. I think that's my show and tell, sir. So yeah, I can vinyl wise, I can pull out anything you fancy.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you for a top 5 album, no, it doesn't I'm not talking about the best album, but an album that just meant so much to you or just defined a period of your life, something like that.
I'm only laughing because I'm just sort of looking back at the 18 vinyl copies of Nevermind the Bollocks that
Oh,
I've
okay.
and
Alright.
several CD versions. I've got the mini disc, I've got the cassette. That was the thing that did it for me because I was quite happy playing drums and stuff. And then I went round my next door neighbours and he put God Save the Queen on. I'd never heard it before. And it was just like, I think religious people would say it's a road to Damascus moment.
Mm,
It was
mhm.
just like, I want to make that noise. I want to make that noise. And to think that I've ended up in various different configurations working for Glenn Matlock, Paul Cook, and Steve Jones. And when
That's cool.
someone said a snarky comment on one of the things about like, oh well, if John Lydon had asked you to pill, he'd never ask you to join pill, because I worked
Mhm.
with Keith Levine from the original Public Image Limited, and he was having a go. I was thinking, no, I wouldn't want to. Have you ever met John Lydon? He's a nightmare.
Mm,
He's I really admire what he did to write lyrics like he did when he was 18. In God Save the Queen, there's that verse that, when there's no future, how can there be sin? We're the flowers in the dustbin. We're the
mm.
poison in the human machine. We're the future, your future. And yeah, yes, it's punk, but Sex
Yeah,
Pistols are really good. Yeah, they were. Glenn's
yeah.
brilliant. On YouTube, there's an instrumental version of No Feelings, and it's Glenn rather than Jonesy doing the.
Rich says Jonesy rode by me on his bike a few weeks ago.
Oh, he does love his
That's
well, on a
cool.
normal bike because he loves his Harley Davidsons, doesn't he, and
Oh,
all that
does he?
sort of stuff.
Okay. Right
But
on.
yeah, and what's that, Rochelle? Don't confuse it with chuff. Is that because I said I was really chuffed? I don't know. That just
Maybe
means
so.
happy
Oh,
and satisfied.
Rochelle said, "I love the word chuffed."
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
great. It's chuffed. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You just don't. Yeah, it does have a different meaning if you use it in a different
Oh,
context.
Rich, let me get you a wrench, buddy, real quick here.
I like Rich actually. He's
Yeah,
always
he's a
got.
good guy. Love
I
when
mean,
he
it's the
comes
thing
out.
with the VC, isn't it? I don't dislike anyone, but I do find some people confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I dislike. Obviously, when people mention things, I go and have a look. You you know, Invisible Ray can go fuck himself. He's horrible.
Hey,
Uh,
Loki wants to know what your favorite sandwich is. He's a fan
I
of
think.
shit sandwiches, but he wants to know what yours is.
Do you know what I love? I've actually got in my kitchen. I've got a toasted sandwich maker, and
Oh,
nothing
cool.
is better for me, I think, in that slicing up thinly a chorizo sausage bit sort of thing,
Uh-huh.
and then slice up mozzarella, stick it between two slices of bread, pull the thing down on the toasted sandwich machine, and
What kind
wow,
of bread?
white.
Why? Are you a
White.
Wonder Boy?
Yeah, I don't, people always say, "Oh, that's not very healthy," but it's like they say, "Oh, it'll knock a few years off your life." Yeah, the
Yeah.
shit years at the end where
Right.
you have to go in a
Yeah.
hospital all the time. I actually don't. I know it's weird, but I've always said to people, I don't want to live really long.
Yeah.
I've had so much fun and
Quality
everything.
over quantity. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My poor old dad had like a year's worth of just a downward slide. Yes, I do like the Branston pickle, and there's some in my fridge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Branson
But yeah,
pickle's great.
I think I also believe myself to be. I've got horrific sort of imposter syndrome. And the amount of times I've been stood on a stage looking out at 40,000 people thinking, am I really here? You know, it's just like, or, backstage at the Faces and like Ronnie Wood comes over and lights my cig for me because he's given up cigarettes, but he needs to light other people's and that makes him feel good. And just thinking, I don't believe that. I was after a festival at Vowood Festival one, Wild Hearts, love them.
Do you? Okay,
Love
cool.
him, yeah, Ginger and all that sort of stuff. It's brilliant. But yeah, I was at Vowood Festival and was playing with Glenn Matlock, and I also, yeah, twice actually. I played with Adam Ant the same night, and it's funny, you know, throughout when we were doing Pretty Vacant, obviously an encore, I could see this guy, this slightly rotund guy that didn't look like he should be into it, but he was really good, and he was singing along with every word. And he has this very, very good looking sort of dark lady with him, and what have you, you know. And I thought, wow, that's a weird couple, and sort of thing. Because I hadn't got my glasses on. I don't want to play with my glasses on and stuff, but I just looked familiar. After the gig, we went back to this big old stately home, which is where everyone was staying there. But there was a bit of an after show, you know, and it was a big stately home. So there's this huge sort of food room, you know. What do you call it? Fucking hell. The dining room.
Dining room.
Dining room.
Yeah, okay.
And it ended up with Glenn said to me at one point, "Oh, I just said, come here, Dave, would you?" It's like lots of people had just disappeared off and what have you. And he just wanted to pay me, basically. He was just saying, you know, let's sort this out. And so we went privately to the kitchen. And then I said, oh, I'm going to make a cup of tea. And he said, yeah, all right, I'll have one. I'll have one. So we sat down in the kitchen of this thing. And then this guy walks in. Glenn gets up and goes, oh, all right, yeah, how are you doing? And he goes, David, this is David. And it was like Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd. You know,
wow.
And he was the one that was like getting into it, and it's because his wife's a Pistols fan. She loves it, and what have you. And the craziest thing is that he said to Glenn, he said, "Oh, I love that song. I love that song." And Glenn said, "Well, you should have got up with us and played it." And he goes, "Well, you should have asked me."
No.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Have you spoken to the Pistols about the current tour?
Yeah, I got a text from Glenn last night. Where is it? Oh, I haven't got my phone. Sorry. I got a text from Glenn last night because I found some footage on YouTube of him playing with Iggy Pop in 1979, and he said to me in the past, "I've only ever seen me play with Iggy Pop on the Old Grey Whistle Test show, which is a British TV thing." And so I sent it to him, and I said, "I've never seen this before. How about you?" And he said, you know, he just said, "Thank you. No, I've not." He said, "But I'll have to watch it. I'll have to have a listen and a watch when I'm not on a very noisy tour bus, because the Pistols are on tour at the moment and stuff." But it is, they are loving it. They're really, really loving it, because, you know, this guy that they've got in to stand in for Lydon, it's just, there's no trouble with the guy. He can't believe his luck. He's happy to do it. He's one of us, if you like. He's a, you know, old punk fan sort of thing. And as much as I really appreciate John Lydon's work with the Pistols and that, I've watched him over the years just really make things awkward for people. You know, it's just, he doesn't have to be like that. And the trouble is, he lies a lot. He does lie a lot. It's ridiculous. I literally saw something completely unconnected, really. He was I saw a thing on YouTube of him at a punk museum, right? And I happened to have the thing he was talking about. But basically, there's a Holidays in the Sun poster. And he said, "Oh yeah, Holidays in the Sun poster." He said, "Well, when we were getting all the flack in England, I just wanted a holiday, so they sent us to the Channel Islands, but they kicked us out. So me and Sid went to Berlin. The other two were too scared or something and went home." And I thought, it's not true. Every Pistols fan who's got a biography of everything, there's photos of all four of them went to Berlin. They're standing by the wall and stuff, you know, like Steve and Paul were there. And then the other thing is, like, he came up, the poster for the Holidays in the Sun thing, right, is this. And he said, "Oh, I love this." He said, "Some kid sent us these cartoon pictures and what have you, and we thought that was real." It's not. It's a Belgian tourism. It was a tourism holiday catalogue. And it's just got pictures of people on beaches and stuff. But instead of the speech bubbles that were on the Belgian tourism thing, they've got the lyrics to Holidays in the Sun. And quite quickly, this Belgian company told them to cease and desist.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of these just came out in a plain white sleeve, because this is a rare sleeve. But it's like Belgian. It's Jamie Reed, their art director, sort of thing. What are you talking about? You know, there's a little kid sent you pictures and stuff. He doesn't have to say that. I think
Yeah.
this is more interesting that he just nicked it off the front of a brochure that you saw in like Thomas Cook
Yeah.
or some sort of travel agent, and thought they'd get away with it, and they didn't. And I love it. So yeah, what was that? Have you spoken to? Yeah, I have. So I mean, really, it's just they're loving it because for the first time ever, they're just having a great time because the other three get on. Cook, Matlock, and John Jones. You know, they like each other as people, and the divider was always John. It's always John. Didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. Oh, that's bullshit. Thing. And then making all sorts of statements from the stage and stuff like that. This is the finally they managed to go and play that classic set of songs and love every minute of it. And the whole vibe of that tour is just good fun. And I'm really pleased for them because I think, you know, they were really excited. I remember Glenn was really excited about the reunion, but it really, Lydon started straight away pretty much with his old sort of stuff. I don't know what the problem with people like that is.
Yeah.
You know, we've got them in the VC. I won't name them. But we've got people who just suddenly, you know, everyone's having a good time and then suddenly curveball, you know. And it's
That leads me to this question, David. What do you want people who disagree with you to understand?
that it's just my opinion. I'm probably not right.
That's a good way.
I mean, I don't know, or I might be right. Listen to me. Let me hear me out, and then make your own decision. And then if you still feel the way you feel, I'm probably wrong. If you can, you know, like facts are a good thing. You can check stuff up, but the trouble is the internet's a nightmare now because you can't just say, "Oh, I saw it on the internet." You have to. What was the source from the internet? And you have to go on a bit of a search. But no, if people disagree with me, whether it's about, you know, music or politics or relationships, they're just our opinions, and that's why I love the vinyl community. You know, because there's a lot of people I totally disagree with, but I then go away and I think, right, am I right or am I wrong? You know, I've been called the Switzerland of the VC before on some.
Oh, that's a good one, man. Hold on to that. Hold on to that.
I've got opinions. It's just that I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying it's how I feel.
Yeah.
You know, and all that sort of stuff. But my my thoughts are like, you know, when I put out my own music, you know, that's why I always find a bit awkward sort of publicizing that I've got a new something out because I like people to discover it. And if you don't like it, you're not wrong. It's just not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I swear to you, I've done stuff that people really fucking love.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I got a letter from a guy, or a message, an internet message from a guy who said that a track I wrote like 2 decades ago. He just sent me this thank you letter saying that he bought it at the merch stand when we played somewhere, and that this particular track had got him through a really horrible divorce. It's just a track called Someone Else, and I just wrote it about, you know, being ditched and what have you. And that he just said, but it's quite hopeful. It's quite hopeful at the end, you know. And he just said, and I can't get my head around that. You know, that someone really just played that day after day after day, and it got him through a bad time. And that's
the best gift. Yeah, when somebody appreciates your creative.
But I have to make music. I have to, otherwise I'd burst. You know, because when I feel bad about something, I've got to get it out. Or if I feel good about something, I've got to get it out. I mean, I've done solo albums before, and this is the first one from like 1985.
Wow.
The Trouble with Cinderella. And The Trouble with Cinderella, it's basically, it's a relationship breakdown, you know, sort of thing. I did an instrumental album of the stuff that I've done for TV themes and soundtracks, which I thought had the quite clever title of Words Fail Me. Because it's instrumental. Instrumental.
That's very cool.
And there's a collection of demos and various other things and stuff. But trouble with vinyl is you've got to find someone else to put it out. I can do CDs in the world.
Yeah, right.
And the amount of stuff that I've done, I played with one of the Sex Pistols, but one of my proudest things is this lady, Sasha Luffman. You can find her on YouTube, and she was only 16 when we started working together. But I learned so much off her because I realised that I was set in my ways, And then she came along, and I was putting a guitar track down. And she goes, Dave, that guitar sounds a bit 80s. And I sort of went, okay, what do you fancy then? So I went through my pedal board of everything, and then she went, that one. And I did it again with that one. She was absolutely right for modern pop, you know. And I've loved working with people like that. You know, I like working with young people. I like working with vintage, you know, classic people. And like I say, you know, Tony Visconti at the mixing desk, doesn't get better than that, does it? Talk about a masterclass, you know, of what you want to watch and what you want to do. And there's a Norman Maslow. So Lydon is a bit of a wanker. Yeah. But he's got lead singer syndrome, Mazzy. That's what it is. Lead singer syndrome is a definite thing. It's like they are made out of 50% crushing insecurity, and 50% total belief in themselves, and it clashes and clashes and clashes. You know, they're scared shitless. That I mean, Lydon used to throw up almost before every Pistols gig.
Oh wow!
Just because of nerves, and then go out there being the big I am. And I wish he'd sort of peeled back his
interesting
layers of being nice. But
Dave, I got a hard out. I've got a family reunion. My family's here from Belfast for.
Is it going to be as big as the Oasis one?
Not quite. But anyway, I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed hanging out. I really think that we could do another one down the road a bit about
as long
more
as
like record centric.
You know, I don't want the chat to, because I mean this is their program, not mine.
Yeah, you know, it's the family table clearly, but it would be fun to really dig into your collection deeper.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
It'd be really fun. Yeah,
there's a lot of it. I'd be more than happy. And like I say,
maybe we could jam a little bit. I wonder if we could do that sometime over the
there'd be a bit of a delay, but there's no reason why.
I wonder.
There's no reason why you couldn't send me something with a click track attached, and then I can put the rest around.
You know what I'll do? I got your email now. I'm going to send you a couple of some stuff that I did a while back just for shits and giggles. Yeah, that'd be good. And all right, man. Thank you so much again, and have a peaceful evening. It's it's almost bedtime. Well, not for you. You're a night owl.
No, it's 8 o'clock here. It's
okay. You got another 6 hours before you turn in, probably.
But like I say, I'm not ever sort of busting people to go and buy my stuff, because I'm, you know, I mean, it's not arrogant, but I'm doing all right. Believe me, I'm okay.
Good for you. Good for
you. But you know, go on Discogs, put in David Donley, and you'll see my.
There's a ton of stuff on there.
And also, you know, YouTube, my YouTube. Again, it's not like I'm not after subscribe. You don't subscribe. You don't have to.
What is the handle on the YouTube? Because I looked up David Donnelly, and it wasn't you. It was a different channel. Is it David or David?
David.
Okay.
David.
Let's see here real quick.
But you could also put in choose your weapon, or peaceful cacophony, or, you know. It's a weird spelling of my second name. I know lots of people want to stick a double N or a double L or
Donley, right?
Donley, yeah. Donley.
See, I have this one. That's not you though.
No. Is that a YouTube? The YouTube channel?
Yeah, this is YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. The guy's got 8 subscribers. I think you probably have more than that.
I do. Yeah. But I mean, it's quite fun, mine, because you know you'll be able to see, you know, the Daphne Guinness thing. You'll be able to see, you know, choose your weapon, peaceful cacophony.
Here you are with Project Gemini.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
You and Anthony.
I'll send you a link, mate.
Send me a link. Okay.
Things.
All right.
Thank you to the chat, because I know I pop up on everything, and I always say, like Rachel, when she says, "Oh, David Donley, come up," and I think, the people are going to get really tired. No. You can have too much of a good thing, but you can have way too much of an average thing, and I count myself as that.
I think you got a ways to go before you got any kind of overexposure, David.
Look, Wyoming Dave, top man. He's someone I like.
Hey, there he is.
Wyoming Dave. He's giving you the He's giving you things there. So just check it out. Like I'm saying,
3978. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Any of it, but you know, for the lads, there's lots of girls there, and you know, who knows?
Awesome. All right.
Thanks, Marty. It's been a pleasure, because we've never spoken to each other, have we?
Not like this. Yeah. No, it's great.
On the same
I look forward to doing it again for sure.
But yeah, and thanks for your patience. gallery because I'm not the most
No,
interesting
you're
person in
good.
the
You're
world, but
good.
I am very
You're good.
passionate about music, records, and you guys.
Yeah. All right, man.
All
Cheers.
right.
Have
See
a
you
great
next time,
evening.
mate.
Okay.
Bye.